Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlia Swanson, and I'm Miss Fort Lauderdale. And I'm just super excited to be back with another artist series for Music is Unity. I'm so honored to present today Dr. Michael Nickens, professor at George Mason University and director of the Green Machine.
I'm so happy to be here. It's great to see you.
Hi, Doc. How are you?
I'm great. It's a great day. How are your day?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Excellent.
So it's the beginning of a new year. So I was just wondering, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
The most direct ones are trying to, once everything happened with the lockdown and quarantining, I got to put things back in place as I go. So it's about that time to get the exercise going back the way it used to be. I'm in the middle of writing some music, so being, just very disciplined about getting to that systematically to make sure we can deliver everything as we need to, and then doing my best to make sure that what I eat is a good reflection of what I intend my health to be like down the road.
That is a good one. So we're in very difficult times. You mentioned the quarantining, the pandemic. So take me back to March. Where were you when this all happened?
We were just about to leave for a basketball tournament in New York, and the National Guard had been called in to possibly lock down part of, I think it was New Rochelle. And so it was questioning, what should we do? Should I take a busload of college students to New York City, where it was a real hot spot and a bunch of unknowns. So we made the decision to not go to that tournament. And then within a day or two, the tournament was canceled. All sorts of things started happening in terms of the university locking down and sending folks home. Or actually, we didn't really send folks home. We at that point, we were just delaying spring break to see what we were going to do. So it was a lot of planning, a lot of just waiting and listening for news, and then just sort of figuring out how to get groceries and toilet paper especially, and figure out what our new life was going to be for the short term.
So being a musician is very difficult because what we do, it goes off of having a live audience and crowd participation, and there being people there. So what have those challenges been like?
The pep band, the last performance was at the last basketball game, home game, the beginning of March. So, yeah, that band is used to being in front of thousands of people every performance. And so that's been a real change of energy. When it comes to my own performing, however, I've been finding my way to practice rooms since I was very young and making a lot of music that way. I've also been interested in electronic sequencing and recording. So that all that's kind of stayed the same, and I leaned into it a little bit more. I mean, I was really excited when you jumped on. I made that a duet project where I would make half of the duet and then send it to people, and they would compose the other half of the duet, and then we would mix them together. And so that was a real way to keep myself going, but also knowing that in the coming up months, I was going to need some expertise with the sound editing and the video editing. So that was the way to go.
That's very true. And I think people enjoyed those videos. You gave like your audience something to look forward to. So being that using the art, so what do you think the role of the arts is in a pandemic?
For the creative artist in particular, the ability to keep moving forward with creativity and productivity. Also, as we find out every time we dig in, you learn more about yourself every time. Every time you challenge yourself to write some lyrics or what kind of melody or what kind of style, you start inevitably answering questions about what do you want and what do you want the world to be like. For connecting with others and as other people, maybe they're not necessarily so far down the path of being the creative producers themselves, but as more of like an audience member, curating their own experience and finding things that speak to their soul and excite them and are cathartic, and just many ways that we can kind of process our thoughts and our feelings. And so it's been amazing watching so many online collaborations, and a real craving to continue to produce, to continue to speak, to continue to explore, what we think where we've been, where we're going through, and where we're headed.
That's so true. I think what this time is really showing how accessible others are. So you doing your duet videos and seeing just like famous celebrities, they're doing the same thing that we're doing. They're at home making this content for others to enjoy. So what are some other creative ways you have used to overcome these challenges?
So I was blessed to be asked to do a couple of commissions, and so I've been spending my time on that, thinking about, what in one, it's a lifelong friend of mine, Carol Yant. She's a principal tubist in the Philadelphia Orchestra, but she also is a clinician, soloist, recording artist, teacher, all of that together. And so she's putting a recital together, and I hadn't written anything for her in 15 years, and which is way overdue, because we've had a lot of fun putting original music together. So in this one, as she asked me to all she gave me was unaccompanied solo. And so for me, I thought about our friendship and things that we get excited about and have fun laughing about or trying to do or whatever. And I, at the same time, had been listening to this BTS song called Dynamite, and it's just so happy. And I really enjoy the lightness of it and the cleverness of it, and it's a very well produced recording, but it's also a very well composed song and performed, very well performed as well. And so thinking about that, and just like, if I'm in charge of what the mood's going to be, why wouldn't I pick why wouldn't I pick joy? Why wouldn't I pick happiness? So thinking about things we do with the tuba, and it's kind of a blank slate about where the tuba should go. I mean, there's plenty of compositions made, but there's no we're not stuck there. We can go in any direction we want. And as we've had fun with dance music and dance parties, a nice house music, four beat, a nice little bass line, and so I just made a piece that very much in the spirit of the way Bach wrote unaccompanied dance suites for cello. Here's my unaccompanied dance piece for tuba, except mine's based in a 21st century, remembering all the fun EDM and disco and house music, and club music, all that stuff, and kind of combine that all together into a solo tuba piece. So that was one thing, and so just my focus on that, and the beautiful satisfaction of following through on it, and we have a finished product for there now. I'm still tweaking little edits here and there, but that one's done. And then the wind ensemble piece, I got excited about an idea, sparked when Dr. Linda Monson, that's the director of our school, asked me about the piece, and one of her requests was that there be a narrator, and the possibility that maybe we could get our new president, Greg Washington, to be the narrator. And so I got the idea. Aaron Copland wrote this beautiful work called Lincoln Portrait, and you get letters, speeches of Lincoln, narrated over, music, musical offering by the orchestra or whatever. So it's like in that same spirit. My great grandfather was a biographer of Frederick Douglass, and I have his book. In fact, I had to borrow it from my mother, because she has the book. It's as my great grandfather gave a copy to my grandmother of my great grandfather's book. That happened to my mother, which I am borrowing and finding, inspiration in the text, not only from Frederick Douglass's speeches, but also from what my great grandfather wrote. Finding a narrative there, finding something that would be interesting to listen to and hopefully moving, and working my way through that. So in all that, I get to spend time with generations of family. Obviously I never met my great great grandfather, as he passed, almost a full century before I was born. But I get to spend time with his writing, and I get a great sense of his feelings on, the politics around enslaved people, and how that fit in with society. And not, like I said, not only from my great great grandfather, but also Frederick Douglass. And so I get to kind of live in that, and it's fun to figure out how many things we agree on. Like I like, how did I inherit that? Through my parents? Yes, of course, but also some of it's just in our wiring, and I've been getting a lot out of that process.
Wow. That is amazing. I think that's so important in composing music to bring along your history and also things that make you who you are. And by doing that, making those compositions, we also teach people history. We teach people about ourselves. I think that's amazing. So what have you learned about yourself in the quarantine?
I have learned that I do appreciate some solitude. I clean my house. I unpack things that I never quite got to once I moved in. Practicing my instruments, playing a lot more video games than I should probably admit, listening to music, watching movies, all sorts of things. I learned that the creative process, especially the duet videos, I have a beautiful network of friends that are artists that I love to collaborate with, and it had been too long since we'd been in touch. So here was a nice user-friendly way to get in touch with friends from decades ago. I've learned that grad school gave me a chance to develop lots of skills of sitting in rooms and reading and writing and working on by myself on projects. So that's one of the things that I noticed early on. I was like, oh, this just kind of feels like grad school, to be honest. Although I had great friends in grad school, we had a lot of fun, but there was definitely time where I needed some time to myself. So, and then, I know that once we get past this, that I will not take for granted the ways that I had access to hundreds of people, and we would come together in the name of creativity and positivity day after day after day. And when we get a chance to get back to that, I'm gonna triple down on that. It was really some beautiful work that we were able to do together, and I'm really looking forward to being able to do it in proximity coming up.
Very true. I think that's been one of the best benefits. It's sad that we can't be together in person, but being able to reach out and connect, and the Zoom parties and the collaborations. So what else are you looking forward to when this is over?
I wonder what we do now that we will continue, that, it's like being on campus, for instance, and having to schlep all around the university just to have this meeting and that meeting and this meeting. I'm really happy that it's become a widespread thing that people know how to use the telecommunications software and hardware of their computer. We might end up saving ourselves a ton of time, and remembering that, very easily have access all around the globe, as long as you can line up time-wise with people they can jump on. And the interesting people that I've been on calls with, different universities, world-class artists, to be sitting on a meeting with Wyclef Gordon, talking about the future of how music is taught in the academy. And I'm just sitting there with Wyclef, and he's being himself, and he's such an amazing energy and such an amazing person. And I have access to him because of the connections through the computer. So it really shows off how much more possibility is right at our fingertips than we might realize. And then maybe we can remember to bring that into the present as we are able to be around. But there's some things that we might be able to be a little bit more agile if we remember how powerful our technology is.
That's true. I was just on a call for freshman orientation, and one student was saying that I've had the chance to go to all these conferences that I couldn't really afford to fly out to, but during this time, I've been able to get all this information right from home. So that has definitely, even for me, being on like the Zoom calls, the master classes you get to experience.
Right.
So, what do you think the importance of cultural studies is in music education?
All right. So there's a little bit of a loaded one, and I'm gonna lean into it. You know, one of the things that's been so powerful about the Green Machine is we figure out ways to include pretty much anybody that shows up. I mean, I'm not saying that 100% of the time every single thing everyone tried to do worked, but we've definitely made some out there things happen by putting together who knows what with who knows what. The fact that you could go to a Division I basketball pep rally, and then in the performance, you end up with a steel pan performer playing bebop over an electric harp accompaniment, and that's just something that happens in the Green Machine, because why wouldn't we? Electric cello at center court, improvising, bluesy licks and a little bit of metal. This is just how we do, and it's about making sure that the people can be what they want to be. I'm not at all trying to denounce the strength of my education or my pedigree. However, I will say that I am proud to be at least trying to take a leadership role in making sure that all the knowledge and all the craft and all the tools that I learned to know about music, to produce music, to study music, to whatever, all the things that we have going on can apply to any type of music making and any type of person trying to make music. Obviously, one size does not fit all, but that just means we have to put a little extra effort into figuring out what an individual needs and how to bridge the gap between sort of the mainstream collective and this unique niche that this person finds themselves in. We're all going to benefit from that uniqueness, even if it's simply just benefiting from a person being able to realize their dreams or discovering that they're moving in a direction that they never even expected they would. So the Academy has some work to do. We can fall into traps where we say a word like music, but for people kind of on the inside, we kind of have this agreement that we don't really mean all music. We just mean the music we're talking about. And that can be, there are situations where that can work out really well, as people can always choose who they are and who they want to be. But for instance, in the case of George Mason University, a large public university, I take very seriously our charge to serve the public and serve our community, serve Virginia and serve DC and serve Maryland, and then as that expands out, however far out, people that see themselves as part of us, we figure out how to claim them, which then means a one-size-fits-all approach won't work. We have ever expanding technologies that we need to incorporate into our work. When we disclude a style of music or a practice in music, inevitably we are excluding that person. We are excluding people. So we might say it's about an aesthetic or a practice, but in the end, it's about people. So the flip of that is, if I can figure out how to incorporate or innovate so that these things can fit together, then I have a chance of fitting more people in and inviting more people in. So I'm really interested in a document that Yale University put out about serving city music students. So music programs in city schools, and the acknowledgement that not every style of music is going to make a vibrant music program in every type of school situation. So, and it's not necessarily that an orchestra won't work. It's not necessarily that a certain style of choir won't work. but it's like, there might be other choices that could get a lot more people interested. And in some respects, that will just be a gateway. Sometimes the people do want an orchestra, but the access point isn't that easy to just jump straight to that and finding some other thing to do first. Obviously, we've all seen how easy it is, how much easier it is with choir, because you don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on lessons and an instrument. You can show up as you are and participate. But then the question is do we have certified teachers who are able to find their ways into a community and know what the spirit and soul of that community is, and make that the musical offering that binds that all together and brings that cultural voice to bear? I'd say that's the work we have, and that's where we're going next. And like I said, not every community is going to be necessarily interested in that. They're going to want to stay who they are, and that's beautiful and exactly in the spirit of what I'm trying to say, is give people a chance to choose who they want to be. But without the proper certification, that then keeps people out of certain jobs, or somehow questions the legitimacy of the teaching that's happening. So it's on higher ed particularly to figure out that certification, and diversify the portfolio of the music that those certifications represent.
Wow, that is so true. And I think culture is how we experience music early on. Like, I grew up in church singing, which has a rich oral tradition, and then I kind of got to college and it was like, well, you don't read these notes as well on this page, but it's like, but I have this other skill that was developed that we could actually build upon. And then I think not realizing that certain underprivileged students that don't have access to the music skills that they need, the theory and the oral skills class, and then you get to higher ed and it's kind of like, oh, the student isn't trying, or they're not, but they haven't had the skill development. So what advice would you have for a student that comes from a different background like that?
I found myself recently speaking to this very thing. I'll start by saying, not everybody can see you. Not everybody knows what, if you could lay out everything that, if you were self-aware enough to even be able to tell someone all the things that you wanted and needed, there are some people that still can't connect with what you're talking about. So I would definitely say that there's a lot of strength in finding someone who does understand, does know a little bit about what you're talking about, has had some overlapping experience. You can always tell when somebody's looking to help you. You can always tell when someone's showing up and trying. And then you have to make sure that you facilitate and stand up for yourself. You facilitate on your own behalf. You have to ask. And when someone tries to help, you can't just wait for it to come to you. You have to go to it as well. The best case scenario is when both, someone's trying to reach to you and you reach to them. Maybe that makes it a little easier on each part. There's a patience thing. I often say, the oral tradition that we're talking about, particularly around church music and singing in particular. I have performers that don't read well, but can just perform circles around many, many other folks who haven't had that same sort of very expressive and creative and improvisatory and all the things that come with what we're talking about. So I take it upon myself, as I came up mainly through school band, piano lessons, school choir, but always interested in, so many different styles. I came up pretty native to reading notation and feel very confident in my ability to teach someone notation, especially if I can find someone who already has strong music skills, and all we need to do is translate that in the other direction to what the notation is for what they already know, which is a little bit backwards from when you're handed an instrument in 4th or 5th grade and someone puts a little marking on and tells you what the marking means. You may not have necessarily even assigned sound to that concept. This is a note that lasts 4 beats, and I'm going to put it on this line, and that means it's a G. So this is a G that lasts for 4 beats. Ready? 1. And it's like until that instrument gets played, blown, hit, whatever the thing is, there's no sound. It's like I'm sort of reverse engineering music by looking at this code, which is obviously something that works, right? There's musicians all over the world that have learned music in very strong ways by reading notation. But I'm saying if we can understand what the musical concepts that the performer already knows, then all we have to do is just show them what that looks like. And then over time, just learn it in that direction. You do this, here's how you think of it, here's how you break it down. Now let me show you the code, right? If I go bop, 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 and somebody can listen and mimic that, then I say, now let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch this. I'm gonna put four little markings down. Now, if I call this the beat, I'm gonna put this mark, and this mark. There are 4 of them. Bop, 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 bop. 4 beats, 4 notes, and there it is. It just takes care and time, just like anything. So, from a student standpoint, I'll definitely say, don't expect that you're supposed to catch up to everything, because first of all, it's not a deficiency. It's just an alternate route to get to whatever the destination is. And so the process, as it says, is alternate route, then there's an alternate process. But if we get caught up thinking about looking around what everyone's doing and thinking that somehow we have to play catch up, it's like, yeah, well, that's an unfortunate thing. And that's part of the reason why I try to make sure that there are performing opportunities that the other approach doesn't work so well for, so that there's a chance to kind of see that there's a lot of success and achievement happening over here from a different process, and we all can learn from each other.
You know what I love about this answer is that all you just said is who you are, and that's what you do. You're not just saying this is how it works. You counting those beats, that's exactly what you did for me, and I'm so grateful for those opportunities.
I love that time. I love us just sitting there working out how this rhythm worked, how that rhythm worked, and we were successful. We got there. It worked.
It worked.
You're not the only one who's shown up in that office to do that work, and it worked for them too. So I'm excited about continuing to do that.
So fun stuff now.
It's all fun stuff to me.
What is the creative process behind the Green Machine and the various type of ensembles that you have?
So the Green Machine in particular was at the core supposed to be the band that plays pep music at basketball games. And I think we have in many ways transcended that, but we have never stepped away from that. I mean, obviously right now we literally can't perform because of personnel restrictions and things like that. But I love that when I first showed up at Mason, before I made a little artistic decision about what the music was going to be like, they already had a collection. It was a student-run group before I got there, and they already had a beautiful collection of music. And one of the most important things that I think that collection had in it was music the students picked themselves that they wanted arranged, and they found ways to either write themselves or get someone to arrange it for them. And then if you think about how segregated a record store could be, where you can pretty much by looking at the different labels style, you can make some reasonable, not ironclad, but reasonable predictions about who will walk to what parts of the store. And thinking about professional performances of those in that same, categorization, whatever is happening there. The concerts also, you can kind of guess the age, gender, race, culture, continue on with that list. You can kind of guess based on how the music's marketed. And I'd say the list that was when I came walking in that the students had already curated had Snoop Dogg and Stevie Wonder and AC/DC and Aha and Nate Dogg. And I feel the Ramones, I feel like they put together a list of tunes, Bon Jovi, Beatles, that was kind of showing that they didn't want to be separated. They wanted it all to come together. And thinking about what George Mason University is, it's that same coming together. We don't even think of students as being 18 to 22. It's like age, whatever. It's a suggestion, but we want everyone coming and having a great educational experience and a great community experience. So the music of the Green Machine had that before I even walked in the door, back when it was just called the Mason Pep Band. They were already doing that. And then with my personal interests mixed with my training, I knew how to take that further. So making sure that the arrangements were as strong as we could possibly make them. One, from a standpoint of the user friendliness that the instrumentalist would have, is like, I need to write a part that they can play, and finding that balance of, it's difficult enough that it's a great challenge, but it's not so difficult that it's too hard to do, and so you can get in there and really crank on it, and then the best case scenario of a successful arrangement turns into more than just playing music that sounds strong or precise. It's like the soul of the person and the party and the reason we picked it, and all that starts to flow out, and that gets manifested in extra things that the students will add to the music, or dance moves, things they yell out and shout out, and can they get in the audience to participate? All those kinds of things start happening. So then we start looking for that. It's like picking songs that facilitate all that. It's like, oh, we'll love to dance to this, and people will love to scream this, and so you start looking for those opportunities. And then as we maybe find a song that, in general the song's okay, but it has this one great section. Well, with our creativity, then we don't need to play the whole song. Let's just pick the great section, smash it up with a bunch of other songs that only have a couple great sections, make a whole new thing that references a bunch of tunes, greatest hits in 30 seconds, whatever. But then you have to then go back and sit down with some notation software and write a part that is correct and not only musically correct, but also works properly for the instrument. And then all of the things that we take into account, which are like, the pep band doesn't rehearse every single day. We might end up getting 2 rehearsals a month. So there's a certain sight readability that goes into picking what is being asked to perform performance-wise, but also in how we decide to notate it. And that can change a lot as well. So we're living in all that. You do it enough that you start to synthesize that into what could be like a 100-step process. You start to get efficient and figure out how you can do 10 steps as one step. But knowing that, we get to a point where we have over 100 songs in that book, and almost everything was written by a student. I wrote a few things, and Jeremy Freer's written a bunch, even since he's been faculty, but he wrote a bunch as a student as well. But we have so many people who have never written anything for any ensemble, and the first thing they write is an arrangement for the Green Machine, which seems so strange. It's like strings, winds, brass, percussion, vocal, electronics. You're going to do the most complex writing of your life, the first thing you've ever done, but they do. And the motivation, the real secret sauce is that motivation of just wanting to. Nobody's required to do it, but I really want to do this song. And sometimes it's a singer that'll say, I want to sing the song. So then we challenge them. Well, then you need to write it. Okay, I've never written anything. Here I go. And that's where we end up with a book full of our own homegrown creations, and we have a huge community cheering for each other and nourishing each other and helping each other along when we need help, nudging them in the right direction. So that's it. It's like our humanity makes that creativity. So that's the real secret. But then part of that humanity is work your butt off, learning how to do it correctly, properly, best possible way, whatever it is I'm trying to say.
Wow, that's incredible. So once that all synthesizes, would you say that's the secret to the viral videos?
I mean, the ones that are way like there's one in particular that has a complete life of its own, and that's us rehearsing a mashup of two Rage Against the Machine songs, Bulls on Parade and Killing in the Name. And yeah, I think there's a lot there, because one thing that people don't expect when they see that, they didn't expect that we'd be able to rock as hard as we do. And so that's a good surprise. All of the spontaneous movement of the people in the band, people don't expect to see a buttoned up university setting band room and then see that side of like our American culture, not only being allowed into the academy, but actually being encouraged and taught, and learning how to like utilize it in a functional way. So yeah, it's like I didn't expect for students, one, to be learning that music with the messages that come through on those particular songs. I never thought a high school band or college band or anything like trumpets and flutes and all that could rock like that. And then it's just so nice. One thing I've heard a lot, it's so nice to see students that engaged with learning. And it's like, yeah, I could see why people would share that around and want to show that off.
Wow. So the band rocks, but another thing that rocks is you, Doc Nicks. So where did that Doc Nicks persona come from? The suits, tell us about it.
So I was a drum major in high school and loved doing that. I loved marching band. I loved getting in front of my friends and showing off the show. And I loved especially my friends that would come to football games. Maybe they were there for the football, but they would cheer like crazy for the band, and they made sure we heard them. And I'll remember that for my whole life. And then the leadership that came from, there was a couple things. One, just being a band member and having a uniform, you just were able to connect with everything in a different way because you were so clearly part of the proceeding of the football game, right? Down to sometime I had to run to the band room to grab something for the band and then run back. And I came through a gate that you're supposed to be ticketed. And the guy looked at me and he goes, clearly you can come through, because he saw me head to toe in school colors or whatever. So file that away. Just being in front and being able to get the audience to cheer or something as the leader of the band. And it's like, okay, remember that, file that away. On an orchestra trip during grad school, we went to Korea to this, I guess it was a boarding school. And one of the activities was we put together a soccer team and played our orchestra members against their students. And I played soccer. I can run up and down a field and kick or something like that. But at a point where I wasn't in the game, there was a huge crowd there. And I'm like, I bet you I can get the wave going. And, so I just started kind of doing the more like cheerleader side of all that stuff, and getting people to clap a certain thing or get the wave going side to side or whatever. And saw that was way more my calling than trying to keep a ball out of the goal or whatever thing I was going to do out there. So file that away. The name Doc Nicks comes from, well, one, especially my father's father, James Harold Nickens. We'd go around DC, and everywhere we went, somebody would know him, everywhere. And they all, hey, Doc, how's the day? Great to see you, Doc, whatever. And he was just royalty walking around DC, and everyone called him Doc. And I called him Papa, call him Papa, but he's also Doc. And when I got to that moment where I was finishing my doctorate and thought about that, as like, I would love to be Doc, And the next part comes from a great friend of mine, Brody Rose, who's been in my life since 7th grade. We played on basketball teams together. We've taken trips together. We ride a lot of roller coasters together. And beach trips, all kinds of things. And he is a special kind of genius where he can know something, see something that the rest of us in the room can't see at all. He can always see something that everyone else can't see. And the thing is, like, it's obvious, but not until he shows it to you. It's like once he shows it to you, it's obvious. But before that, he could just see this thing. And one of them for him was he decided he wanted to be a hip hop DJ and bought some turntables and bought some records and then worked on it for decades. And now we can go down, in normal times, we go down to U Street and he'll have a bar completely packed, no room to move, yet everyone's going to groove and dance anyway because it's set genius level party DJ, And in fact, you can get on Brody Rose's Facebook and he'll do DJ sets from his artist page. So you can check that out, Brody Rose or Bro DJ. Anyway, and he had this thing about reducing everyone's name down to one syllable. So Nickens turned into Nicks in high school or middle school sometimes. So I started calling myself, writing it down with the X when I was living in New York, going to school at Manhattan School of Music, and I'd start signing my emails New York Knicks as just a, clever little thing to do, whatever. And then when I finished at Michigan, the chance became as a performer to become Doc Nicks. And so I was performing in little hip hop shows in Madison, Wisconsin as Doc Nicks. I got a little poster from one of Brody's shows back when he was a student in the University of Wisconsin. So that's where Doc Nicks started the name. A lot to say there. And then the suits started because I was, thinking about how we were going to perform. There's this thing with polo shirts and khaki pants. I swear my soul is getting leached out of me when I have them on. It's like if I put on a polo and khaki pants, it's because I am trying to make myself acceptable to somebody else. And I can do that. I can show up and say please and thank you the way I'm supposed to and do all that. But there's this part of it where it's like it's like I said, it's just for someone else. It's not for me. And I can put on the right shirt. I can put on the right pants. I can pull it off and make it, but it's just not fun enough. And it's just, the epitome of the color beige and all the connotations of beige. And it's like, it's just not meant to be exciting and not meant to be flashy. It's meant to be the opposite, hide in plain sight or something like that. I don't know, something like that. So a lot of pep band directors wear the school colored polo and some khaki pants on the sideline. They put the little headset on and they run the band how they run it, and that's great for them. And I just think back to how much fun I had as a drum major in high school with a flashy uniform on, piping and whatever, flashy buttons and all kinds of stuff. But for a basketball game, especially one at the time it was called Patriot Center, now it's called Eagle Bank Arena. That is a rock venue. That place probably has a stronger reputation for the rock concerts than even the basketball program at Mason. So it needed to, I didn't need to, but I really wanted to tap into that. And we were already playing stadium rock tunes in the band anyway. And so it's like, what does someone who's trying to get that same sort of access to the game environment, and it's like, I'm trying to be the drum major, I'm trying to be a cheerleader, I'm trying to be the mascot, it's somewhere in all that. And then I'm watching MTV. This is 2006, and Flavor of Love was on. Flav is sitting there in this beautiful purple suit. And I'm like, okay. That's so I know what this is going to be. And I also think back to the movie Drumline, and the bad guy drum major bad guy band director had this pinstripe purple suit. And it's just like, it's got to be that. It's got to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so fun to put on fun, fashionable clothes that are audacious and loud and just meant to flex a little bit, and that to me fits so much better than like a military style uniform that the marching band would have been if we were outside a football game. This is different in this rock stadium, you know. So that's where the idea came from. And then I just went over to Springfield Mall back when I can't remember what the name of the store was called, something like Modern Image or something like that. And I can't remember, it's Fashion Image, or I don't know, some you know, hip name. And I walk in. Well, I'm just walking through the mall and I see the olive green suit that I wear that has the pinstripes down. The jacket, like the zoot suit style, goes down past my knees, and it's 3-piece suit with the vest and the pants. And found a shiny gold shirt so that I could be in school colors of green and gold. And that's it. It all kind of came together. And one of the things I always talk about with the suits, so many people ask, where could I possibly find suits like that? And I tell them, at the mall. And your brain is not wired to see this suit. This suit would be invisible to you because you're so far from looking for something like this. But I went in with the intent of finding it, and there it was. It was there waiting for me.
That's incredible. You know, it's so true about the suits and the energy that it brings. Because I remember when I was a freshman, there was one Mason Madness. So we had like a rehearsal early in the day, and then you went and got changed into your suit, and like the energy changed. It was like, it's game time. It's time to go.
That's right.
So freshman year, so I was at freshman orientation. I saw the Green Machine, and I think I tweeted, "I want to be in the Green Machine." Then I saw a response, Doc Nicks, come out on Tuesday. So how does recruitment work for the Green Machine?
Oh man, there's so much of it that's simply the students find each other. And you know, when somebody has the mindset that works well in that environment, and they know someone on the outside that would contribute well to it, would benefit from being around it, they just bring each other. And you know, I have one of my great mentors, Jack Elgin, who, you know, I've known him since I was a student in high school, and he encouraged me with my writing. He encouraged me with my teaching. I would go to his camp every year. I would write his marching band show, write the music for it, and then I would go to his camp and help teach it. And he would run that band with, it was always very clear that it was a priority that the band was a youth group. And yes, we were there to make music, but that band is a youth group. And so we just take care of each other and take care of them in a way that might be just different than if we were just looking at the performance and saying, we have a performance to do, and we're going to do everything we can to do a straight line between here and that performance. And it's like, yeah, we are, you know, making a family, and we are making sure people are socializing and growing and are in a great, safe environment and challenged properly and all of that. And so it's like, with people who are interested in that, they'll find us. And so people, for instance, who have been part of a church music program, that's going to end up being, you know, I'm going to bet that we're going to find a lot of folks just simply because they know that we're there to help raise them as people and raise each other as people. So yeah, if we do that properly, of course the music's going to sound good, because working hard is part of what we're talking about. But thinking that we're going to over-sacrifice people's feelings, health, just so that we can have a strong performance, it's like, that is not at all what we're about. So it's like, that is what recruits for the band, the reputation of that, and the people who are in it who want to spend more time doing it and bring their friends into it. That's how we recruit for the Green Machine. And the one huge structural blessing is the university's admissions office, when we started, put some scholarship money behind the band so that we could retain. At first, it was thought that we would recruit with the scholarship money, but what we found was it works best if someone comes and joins the band, and then we say, you can up your participation by accepting the scholarship. And so we move it in that direction. We use a lot more for retention than for recruitment. But the promise of that retention, I'm sure, is part of the game. People who understand, if I go in and make myself into a strong member and contribute, and I love it, then maybe I can have a few less hours working some minimum wage job, and I can actually spend that time making music, and serving the community. So all that's how we do it. And then we play dope music and do crazy, amazing shows that recruits for the band. We have videos that go crazy all over the internet. So trying to make sure every teacher, every student knows that we're here. that's how we recruit. It's just trying to get it out there and as widespread grassroots thing as we can make happen.
That's very true. So tell me about growing up playing your aunt's piano in Southeast DC, your musical start.
Oh man, that's at Noni's house, and I was just on a call with her son, and I don't want to underplay who her son is. Her son is Colonel Fred Gregory, who commanded and piloted the space shuttle 3 times. And was a deputy head of NASA at some point. He's not some father, but it was just fun to get in and talk to him. And I get very excited. We've got a lot of really accomplished folks in the family, but part of that is because Noni raised us all and making sure that we sat up straight when we were supposed to, and pleased and thank you when we were supposed to, and knew how to be, knew how to act, and knew how not to act. But then at the same time, her house was this wonderland, just like interesting things to read and games to play, and then instruments and music to listen to. And just think about like the equivalent of like the finger painting that you do the first time you get on a piano when you're 3 years old or whatever, and you just are hitting the thing and enjoying the fact that it makes sound and you can make it make sound. And that stage. And then the next stage where somebody like maybe plays something and then you plink it out and maybe you play it too. And then that playing by ear thing. And then maybe they'll even show you some fingerings and you like can now play some little thing, right? And then find some songs that are already in your head and figure out your way to it. And then at some point, somebody puts some notation up and is like walking me through it. And it was mostly my sister, actually, Crystal. She learned something and then she did it. And so encouraged me to do it, or maybe actively and passively encouraged me to do it. Actively by saying so, but also just by me watching. It's like, well, she can figure that out. I can figure that out. And doing that kind of thing. And then all that's still in my life. Like, I sat at the piano earlier today, and sometimes I'm reading and sometimes I'm improvising and sometimes I'm finger painting. And it's like, obviously the finger painting is improvising too, but it's like a little bit of a different intent. It's like the finger painting improvisations are like, I am truly trying to discover something. Like maybe some other improvisations, I'm trying to maybe recreate something and emulate something. The finger painting is just like, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't even know if this is a good technique to ever use on a piano, but it's different than anything I've ever done. So I'm going to put my hand down this way, or use my whole arm or my forehead, or I don't know what else. I'm just making stuff up, but that's the whole point. It's like, what can I discover in there? And then, fast forward to my time at Michigan, where I joined the Creative Arts Orchestra, where we spent hours and hours a week in that finger painting place, where it's just like, we're going to try and find our way to freely improvise music that we didn't even know existed before we started the piece, kind of thing. And not to say that it was all in that, because sometimes we would have a plan and try to make the plan work. But it was like that thread from all the way back to the piano playing, to all that improvisation. And then that leads to my composing now, picking up an instrument and just sort of messing around with it until something pops to me. And I'm like, that would be an interesting thing to do musically, or something like that. It all fits together for me. And I'm blessed that I have that thread going back and I remember, so many, if not all steps of the way in between.
And what were some of your musical influences growing up?
A huge moment for me, I'm at my cousin Chris Kropp's house, and he played Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, The Show. Oh my goodness. That moment has been etched in my mind. I bring it up, multiple times a month, how important that moment was. Some of it was because my cousin Chris is one of the coolest dudes walking the earth. So just the fact that he was showing it to me made me pay attention to it more. But I had never heard a sound like that. It's like I grew up with all the rock and pop music around me. And of course I love, like when Thriller came out, I love that album and all the Donna Summer that my mother, brought me up on, and just on and on and on. Shaka Khan and But then something about when I heard that rap happen, there was just something playful and powerful and clever, and it was like I didn't know we could go in that direction, and that sounds like a lot of fun. And I don't know, it has so many great things to describe that a young multiracial boy in DC can kind of become part of something just by hearing that one song. But then, like, moving forward, LL Cool J and Run DMC and Rakim and Big Daddy Kane and even the Beastie Boys, and just in all the ways that my friends and I had fun with that. But then, like I said, Michael Jackson and Thriller, and then right after Thriller, Purple Rain came out, and so Prince was, oh my goodness. And it was funny, the other day I was just like in the hardware store, and I just called to say I love you came on, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's so funny the way I think of Stevie Wonder and all the things that I'm like, the characteristics of Stevie Wonder. But that was the first Stevie Wonder song that I knew because it was on the radio. And it just wasn't like now where you can listen to a person's entire catalog and have them at your fingertips on the internet. Then whatever the radio decided you were listening to was what you were going to listen to. And it's like, that's a great song, and of course we just love Stevie, doesn't matter what he does. But I wouldn't pick that first in terms of like, I'm going to show you Stevie Wonder. It's just not the first place I would go, but I'm glad I had the access point. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I had it. But anyway, all that, whatever was on WPGC in the 80s, all of that. And there was other radio stations, WAVA and Q107. And so we listened in DC 101, which still going strong. WKYS, all those stations. Whatever they were playing. When I got to high school and I heard Biggie Smalls, holy moly. When I first heard Q-Tip and Busta Rhymes and Phife Dawg, oof. Later on, first time I heard Lauryn Hill, first time I heard Mos Def, woo. These artists just like continue in this direction of what's possible. Jay-Z, Beyonce. I literally remember exactly where I was sitting the first time I heard Say My Name, Say My Name. And it's like, what is this? First time I heard Alicia Keys. Oh, goodness gracious. First time I heard Dave Matthews Band. Oh, Dave, writing those songs, those lyrics, just taking me on these journeys. Guilty pleasure of Hootie and the Blowfish. Darius Rucker is a beast. I can go on forever. That's all my popular life. And then sitting down at the piano and learning Bach, and especially the way it works, the way I enjoy doing Rubik's Cubes, playing a fugue. Somehow those things are the same to me. There's like something that's going on the same in my brain when I do those two activities. And thinking about, I love interesting instruments. I love harpsichord because it's just so out of the ordinary of my normal life, and then it's so slick and everything else. I love guitar and I love drums and I love singing. So just like all the directions that come from all those places, all the Madonna that I listened to back in the day, mainly because my sister was into it, but then decades later realizing like, oh, I know every word to every one of these songs. I guess I'm a Madonna fan. I guess I'm a Cyndi Lauper fan. All of it, yeah. So just I'm omnivorous when it comes to what I'm listening to. Louis and Ella and George Clinton, and I love all of it. I love what I can get out of all of it. Construction wise, aesthetic wise, just the mood, just the swagger of it all. I just keep it coming.
Wow, you listed some incredible artists. So what would you say? What would you say your mission is as an artist?
Look for opportunities to make things that will, at the very least, bring myself joy. So kind of what I was saying about the viral video for Green Machine. Some of it is people just like watching students have a great time. So if I can't, climb the mountain and be the most technically proficient on whatever instrument I'm performing on, at the very least I can deliver my own joy, my own like energy, and try to be very generous with trying to transmit that to other folks. And then continue to explore the universe, the infinite universe, and figuring out what I have to say about it intentionally and unintentionally. And so doing that by arranging tunes, by reimagining tunes, by inventing tunes, by just going back and performing someone else's music because I love it. All of that. By going in and finding music that I don't know anything about and actually kind of hate a little bit, and living with it and seeing what I can learn and seeing who else I might have been destined to become. But, I was, blocking myself because of, what I thought my preferences were or something like that. To continue to just make stuff with friends and try to make new friends by making things. That was one of the great tuba and turntables duet, with people who I don't know well. And that was our first time ever making any kind of music together. And so we're friends now because we made these duets, and the duet itself made us become friends. So that, do all that stuff. Okay. Study hard, work hard, having fun, make sure you have fun.
So this is the fun question. So what is your favorite meal from 29 Diner?
29 Diner. I go in there and I have them make me up basically the same thing I would get in any kind of breakfast place. Couple eggs over easy, wheat toast, grits. I like a little side of bacon and link sausage. If I'm really feeling it, we can add a pancake or two to that. But then what always happens with John Wood, he's smoking some things, some pork shoulder, some ribs, some beef, something, whatever. And he brings in the barbecue and he's like, well, let me just give you a little sample of this and a little sample of that. So it's like that traditional breakfast with a side of barbecue, John Wood style. That is a 29 Diner meal.
Okay, what is the best purchase you've made?
My house. Definitely my house. And I have been able to, grow here, heal here, rest here, party here, before, everything locked up, and even during it in different ways. I make music here. I explore, reading and movies and whatever else, play games, make food, all that's going on. So the house, definitely.
Okay, so what is your favorite Green Machine chart to play?
When we play the mashup of Bomb Track and Wake Up, that would be what we call number 10, or the second Rage mashup. If I'm able to play that thing at the right time of the game, especially late, especially if we've been behind and suddenly took the lead and they call a full timeout, and then they hit and it hits and it hits and we're grooving, and then it gets to the spot where we're doing all this, and then we start the side to side, and then we can get the crowd. And yeah, I'd say if I have to pick one, that's one that it's just like, here it comes. I am so sorry for you, but here, I'm about to do it to you.
Okay, so this is your last question. This is a hard one. Top 5 rappers.
Biggie, Busta Mos, Rakim. Ooh, tough.
Yeah,
Ooh. Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill, that's a good one. Well, Doc, thank you for being here. This was great.
This was awesome. I love hanging with you. I love that you're doing this. I love seeing all the things that you're accomplishing. Looking forward to what's coming next. I'm looking forward to our next collaboration.
Yes.
That was hopefully less than a subtle hint. Um, and yeah, let's keep it going and keep our family rolling together. And looking forward to when I get to see you too.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank
Give it
you.
up for Doc Nix, everybody. I hear you. I hear you. Thank you. I'll see you later.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.